this side. I'm able to move along much faster than I normally would. Paul and Mel has done a good job with this horse. I don't know, Theo and Etta, have you guys been playing with this horse?
Nikki has.
This is Nikki's project.
This is what?
Nikki's.
Nikki's. Nikki's been playing with this horse. Now I know why it's so friendly. All right, so before I cinch it up, what I like to do is I just tighten up just a little bit and I release the pressure. If that horse were to take a step, I would really try not to release that pressure until the horse stopped moving its feet. We used to, get a young horse in, and I was very proud to be able to saddle it up without a bridle, without a halter, without a rope. All 4 feet were standing still. I've done a good job. Well, you get those horses that will come into the center and they just lock up. It's like, oh, I'm safe. I don't have to move anymore. I don't have to do anything. You put the saddle on, everything's still good. That horse takes 1 step and all hell breaks loose. They start bucking and pitching and squealing and run into the pen, and it's just madness. So I've kind of changed my approach to that in the fact that, and I knew this horse was going to be okay, so I showed off a little bit. But I changed my approach a little bit as the bridle is the first thing I put in their mouth. And I start to get that horse to bump up into that bridle a little bit and think about what the bridle means. There's many different things you got to do to put a bridle on a horse. First of all, I got to be able to just put my hands around his head without him throwing his head up in the air and fighting me. Second thing is I got to be able to put the bridle up there and run my fingers up and over his ear without him fighting me. Third thing is I got to be able to put that bridle up, put my finger in his mouth, and get him to open his mouth without him fighting me. All these steps, it's all about breaking it down into really small segments to see where your training is at. What do you need to work on? What does the horse need? And then you work on it from there. I don't want to take up a whole heck of a lot of time here because I'm splitting this hour with Mel. Mel's our trainer at the barn. And Mel and I have the same philosophies, but we don't always approach things the same way, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think it's better for the horse to experience different philosophies as a young horse. Oz, the half-brother to this horse, was a perfect example. I round penned that horse. I started riding it just a little bit. It was still really a green horse. And then I invited Paul and Lindsay and Sam to do some round penning with me. And they all were learning how to round pen on a horse that has already, done some round penning. And, ask them, was it easy? No. And there's mistakes made, but that's okay. That's the great things about horses is you can make mistakes. It's all fixable as long as you don't get hurt doing it or the horse doesn't get hurt. It's no problem. If you never make mistakes, you don't learn. And that's the beautiful thing, the educational thing about horses is making mistakes isn't that big of a deal as long as you learn from it and you can recover without being hurt. So I get the bridle on the horse, and then I simply, before I climb on its back, I like to just start picking a rein. And I pick up on the rein and I just get that horse to give to the bit just a little bit. I say, good horse, everything ends with a reward. If possible, end it with a reward. Little baby steps will make you teach that horse so much faster than a hard and fast approach and just get on and get it done. My grandpa Oscar said training horses is the easiest thing in the world. You show them what you want and you make them do it. That's it. That's how Dad grew up. That's how he learned. Show him what you want and make him do it. But he's right. You know, if you're able to show your horse what you want, then it's just a matter of making him do it. You can coax him into them, you know, nicely, or you can make him do it. I've learned that you cannot force a horse. If you force a horse, the resistance side of the horse comes out, and they fight you. And if you teach a horse to fight you, you've got a kind of a miserable life ahead of both you and the horse. But if you can work with that resistance side and teach them what you want before you get more physical, that's really important. So when I start getting on a horse now, I want all 4 feet to stand still. You know, that's the number one thing before I put a leg over the horse. That horse is standing still, solid, not moving. Oh my gosh.
That's a short horse. Come on now.
Somebody was in my saddle. And I think it was my lead mare. I'm surrounded by lead mares. I'm telling you. I've learned so well where to go, what to do, and how to do it that...
You get a lucky stud. I should all stand with their arms crossed.
Yeah.
I really enjoy these opportunities to talk to you guys kind of all as a group. You know, I'm always running around the farm fixing something or, you know, putting fires out or whatever it is, and I don't get much time to show you guys what I've learned from my dad. Where is he?
Probably at the 61 stop.
Get an ice cream cone.
Yeah, a drumstick.
But I'm very privileged. I feel very privileged to be in the position that I'm in and have all the knowledge that my dad's taught me. Kind of chokes me up a little bit. So I want all 4 feet to stand still. I put a foot in the stirrup. The horse doesn't move its feet. I reward it by taking my foot out, saying, good horse. If that horse were to move a little bit, I try really hard to keep my foot in that stirrup and move with that horse until he stops, and I can help him stop by pulling up on the rein, and then I take my foot out. The first time I get on the horse, I just kind of put a little bit of pressure on him and get down right away. Good. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this horse's back. It's still a pretty young horse. I'm not going to ask it to walk around with me. I'm a pretty big guy, and I don't need to, you know, break that horse down, stress his back out. But for him to stand there and, you know, let me get on and off, and it's not going to hurt him. Now, you know, obviously there'd be a lot more things that I would do in the round pen now that I've gotten this far. I'd ask him to do some rope work. I'd ask him to jog around with that saddle flapping and stuff. I'd bring out paper bags and I'd put some jumps out here. And I'd really try and develop them before I started riding them. But I don't have time to do all that today because I'd like to introduce to you Mel Harms, the resident trainer at Woodloch. I'm very proud of her and what she does.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Paul is When we put together this schedule and we started talking ideas for open house this year, we put a bunch of them together and kind of brainstormed. And I thought we were probably going to do Roundhead because Bill has done such a great job of that in the past and every year. And then when we came to last week and we talked about some more training items, we said, oh, well, Paul and I are going to take a little time too. So, surprise, here we are. Paul is on his horse Cochise, and sometimes known as goat cheese by the kids. To call him that in the city.
Here, let me switch this. Can I hand this off to you?
You bet. You bet. And he does a really nice job. One of the next steps that we're going to show you with this snip horse in the pen is some ponies.
And if you turn that on, you're going to have to be on this side of the speakers, otherwise it squeals.
I'll wait till. Okay. So Paul, if you want to head in with Cochise, and we'll halter snip, and we're also going to show you another step called pony.